Wow. When Sam invited me to give this talk, I said to him, what's the time frame on the prediction? Because Elon Musk is tampering with our brains with his product called Neuralink, which you may have heard of. It's a kind of 45-minute, minimally invasive surgery, just a bit of shaving of the skull, and eventually you'll have your implant. However, he has confirmed that if third-party integrations are applicable to this, that advertising cannot be the business model. So you might want to bear that in mind. But he said keep it to about the next sort of 10 years, which is really my focus for today. So I want to talk about some of the things we've been working on over in MediaCity here in Manchester, where we've been focusing on the concept of immersive intelligence. And that's really my prediction for the next 5 to 10 years and how we should think about the future of media. So over at MediaCity, which has been going now for nearly 20 years, trying to bring together the different subsectors in the creative industries to experiment with new forms of creativity, new forms of audience experience, new ways of engaging with screens, and trying to create new communities of consumption of rich, creative content. We found that it's incredibly difficult to bring people together. Animators want to stay in their space, filmmakers stay in their space. So we created this project to bring people together, to think about how we can develop new forms of audience encounter with content. So the projects we've been developing have had those values really at the heart of it. And leveraging that collaborative component to creativity has been really rewarding. People trying to think about the future of flat screen experiences, integrating that with augmented reality so we can have really collaborative, co-present experiences, really an experience we haven't quite realized, because immersive has developed a bit of a bad name where it's associated just with virtual reality headsets. So the companies we're working with are thinking through how we can make more out of this, how we can use the technology we have to create accessible, multiple kinds of audiences around creative content, libraries of digital assets that people can not only utilize, but create for themselves. Because we've also discovered that some of the real challenges with developing a lot of this is that actually the pipeline to innovation within creative companies is really quite limited. So trying to find ways to allow people to develop for themselves and do things like have a kind of effective augmented reality pipeline that's comparable to what WordPress did for blogging is the kind of accessibility and ease of use that many organizations need. So these kinds of developments are at the heart of this transformation into immersive intelligence. And over the last 6 months, we've seen how much of that has been focused on the integration of creative AI into these workflows. What that means isn't just pertinent to the creators, but it's also to the audiences as well and how they utilize the technology. So much of what we're seeing is a need to both help people understand how to make the most out of the AI-based components of the creative platforms, but also just to understand what's possible. You will have seen so much of the kind of influencer content creation on platforms like TikTok and Instagram is focused on explaining how to use creative AI. But at the elite production level, we also see the integration of immersive experiences really taken to the next level. So this is one of the projects we have, the Audioverse, trying to create immersive audio for live events so that people can feel connected to them in quite profound ways, whether they're at the event itself or whether they're experiencing it through a whole range of platforms, whether it's a gaming platform or on screen. These kinds of technologies still haven't yet reached us, but it's the future of what we're about to see come down the line. I was lucky enough to be in Paris during the Olympic Games this year, and so much of what the Olympic Broadcasting Service produced this year was focused on that immersive audience experience. Connected to that is the wider cross-sector integrations that we're seeing. This project is looking at educational content creation, giving people different ways of experiencing information, discovering information. You might have seen just this week we had the first school in London, which is a teacherless classroom, using AI to generate new kinds of learning experiences that help people understand more effectively. So immersive intelligence isn't just VR headsets, it isn't just new forms of augmented reality, it's a comprehensive transformation to how we think about engaging with content. It's the transformation to theatrical stages, to places, it's the integration of physical and digital experiences. The metaverse in waiting is Google Maps as we see it become closer to that kind of immersive content that we expect from digital twins within the metaverse. This, for me, is the really intriguing part of what the future looks like. And that's where I'd like to leave it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and now for our second quick line. No, you've beat me to it. Tess, Round of applause, please.
Is this my mic? It is my mic. Hello, I'm Tess, and I am the Business Gaming Director at Ph.D. Manchester. And I'm here to tell you that the future of media is gaming. But because I'm a little bit difficult, it's actually not the future, it's the present. And the reason for that is because, I don't know about any of you guys, but over lockdown, time stopped working for me properly, and to the point where I keep buying the wrong rail card when I go traveling and then have to sheepishly explain to the ticket inspector that I'm not 20 to 25. I just bought the wrong one because I forgot how old I am. But that, luckily, doesn't seem to be just me, but everyone. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it's actually affecting our planning, particularly when it comes to audiences. So who are those audiences? Well, you've got Gen Z, teenagers, and Gen Alpha, who are babies, except they're not. That was from 5 years ago, and Gen Z are all young adults, and Gen Alpha are scaringly turning 15 this year. So a little bit about these customers. Well, 55% of them have left home. So Gen Z are making huge purchases, like looking at buying a new car. They make up 1/3 of the global population, and they're earning money now, so they are immediate customers. But typically, when we're talking in meetings, when we're doing brainstorms, they're still treated like teenagers, but they're in jobs, they're in the workplace, and they're 27-year-olds. And then when we come to Gen Alpha, I think we all think that they're babies and a really distant worry, but they're actually an immediate concern. And not only that, they are going to be the largest generation with 2.2 billion of them globally. 55% of them are already creating videos, and if you've been on TikTok and heard the phrase skibbity toilet, you will know that. So they're already creating a very unique online identity for themselves, and they're more influenced by online influencers when it comes to making purchases than their own family. So their online lives are very, very important to them, and that's why they're spending just under 5 hours a day on screens. So with this in mind, with this reframing of Gen Alpha and Gen Z, what do you need to know? Well, Gen Z see gaming as part of their social lives. I think a lot of people still think gaming is a very solitary activity, something you do at home alone, but the reality is it's part of the social experience. And you can see this with the reason Gen Z stop playing a particular game, and they'll stop playing because their friends have stopped playing. And that's because they play together on a platform called Discord, which is a dark social. If you've not heard of it before, it's kind of like a cross between WhatsApp and Reddit. It's hard to explain if you've never been on there, but it has 200 million global monthly active users, 70% of which are between the ages of 16 and 30. So it's a very big deal. And with that in mind, the numbers are getting quite scary. So if you were to look at the amount of time Gen Z spend online, we invest millions into TikTok, but actually they're spending more time on places like Roblox. And I think when we look at our media plans, this isn't being reflected in the investment. Now, Gen Alpha. So the way we always talked about social with Gen Z, as in they couldn't imagine a world without it. It was there the moment they had access to an iPad. This is how Gen Alpha are with gaming. So 22% of Gen Alpha already game around 12 hours a week, if not more. And a big part of this is actually co-gaming, so gaming as a family. And this happens throughout all stages of childhood, not just when they're a little bit older, but actually as young as 3 and 5, they're playing with their parents on Roblox, and it's being used as like an educational tool as well. And it doesn't end there, because when they're not playing, they're consuming gaming content, with Roblox being a huge genre on YouTube. So it's a part of every part of their like media touch points throughout the day. So with that in mind, gaming should not be an innovation budget. Maybe it should have been an innovation budget 5 years ago, but now it should be a part of your current and core media mix. PwC expect gaming advertising to be on par with TV advertising by 2027, and so it's really important that brands don't get left behind and that they're able to understand their role within the gaming landscape, how they can enter authentically, and how they can reach these audiences in an increasingly fragmented digital world. So, with that in mind, gaming is not just the future of media, it's the present. Thank you.